Hi, this is Dan in Nature. My name is Dan, and I live under the redwoods in a tent in the forest on almost 4 acres. And I love it. I love it. There are many challenges. Don't get me wrong. I face challenges every day. Some are very logistical in nature. Some are very emotional. Some are barely survivable. Oh. Hello, sounds of nature. That sounds like a very fast or loud vehicle. I'm going to breathe and practice my skill of patience. Breathing there are many different ways of breathing. Sometimes it's nice to think broadly, and sometimes it's nice to focus our attention on different levels. It can feel hard to do that when there is a background noise, a background sound, a background idea, a background worry, a background anxiety. And I think that describes every single one of us. Breathing helps me not only lose weight and continue to live. Breathing also allows me to gain perspectives. And breathing also affects my metabolism, my pulse. My metabolism includes all the glands in my body that produce various chemicals. Breathing can affect which glands are active when. And different types of breathing can affect how I feel. Breathing's amazing. I'd like to talk more about breathing in another episode. For now, I'm going to say I've experimented with pranayama breathing. And it turns out my friend Ian, his mom, is a breathing coach in Hawaii. So here's another shout out to Ian. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate you. It was so quiet here this morning, right after the rain. I can hear a plane, what I imagine is a plane. I can hear a stream. My eyes are closed. I see gray, little bits of red. What I imagine is the sunlight shining through the clouds, shining through my eyelids, into my retinas, down my optic nerve, and firing off tiny, tiny signals. When I was a teenager, I heard that I could take a wintergreen lifesaver and crack it in half and see a spark. And that the spark that I would see would be too tiny to see in daylight. I would need to go into a very dark room. I remember I went into the darkest room I could find. No windows, the bathroom. And I covered the cracks in the door with a towel when it was already dark out. And I took a pair of pliers, I think maybe 2, and I cracked that lifesaver in half. And in fact, I did see a spark. I remember very clearly I saw a spark. And I remember feeling very excited that this experiment worked. I believe that the human eye is so sensitive to light that it can see a single photon when in complete darkness. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe it needs 10 photons, but I believe it needs a single photon. And either way, 10 photons, even 100 photons, that is an extremely small brightness. Now my eyes are open. There were clouds when I closed my eyes. There are still clouds. And there is also blue sky. I hear a plane. A few hours ago, there were no sounds out here right after the rain stopped. Now the sun is coming and going. The sun isn't actually moving. Perspective is vitally important. And what I mean by that is the ability to have multiple perspectives, to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously. The sun isn't moving. The earth is moving around the sun. The clouds are the ones that are moving. When the sun comes out, what I really mean is that the clouds have dissipated. Perspective is important because the sun is definitely moving very quickly, orbiting the center of our Milky Way galaxy. The Earth is spinning on its axis. Orbiting and being orbited by the sun, just as the moon is orbiting and being orbited by the earth. These are all various perspectives. They're all true. It depends on where I stand. Right now, I'm underneath some redwoods. And I can see some blue sky, followed by some white sky, and every shade in between. sounds of humanity are both part of nature and separate from nature. It depends on the perspective. Let me try to take all of these perspectives at once. I can appreciate the bird sounds when they are here by themselves. I can appreciate the plane and the truck and the chainsaw sounds when they are here by themselves. I wonder if that's a plane or not. I think so. And when they coordinate with each other in some way, when I can hear a coordination in those tones, then it's an orchestra, and I can take that perspective. I definitely want to come back to this idea of perspective. This idea of holding multiple perspectives simultaneously is something I find valuable. Very valuable. I hold the perspective of the cheetah, the perspective of the mountain lion, the perspective of the eagle, the perspective of the worm. They are not all equal. They are all different. I choose to remember that I also have a perspective. And my perspective may or may not be shared by other people on this planet, other people that I share this planet with. That's what I mean when I say, if I am not me, who will be? I like finding perspectives, new perspectives. In the same way that I like to understand how things work. I don't always understand how things work. Sometimes I don't feel compelled enough to spend the time it would take me to fully understand how something works. Maybe I'll save that for another time. I have thought. Here comes a car or a vehicle. Practicing my skill of patience. When I was young, I remember hearing my Aunt Marcia. I remember her fondly. She passed away in 2012, so 12 and a half years ago. I do remember her fondly. She was quite a role model for me. My own mother passed away. My own mother died. My own mother died. My mom died in 2006. That was a tumultuous relationship. One filled with love. And that is what my aunt would most remember of my mother. My mother was full of love. She had so much love to share, to give away. And I remember my mom also, when I was young, when I was a child, I remember her full of love also. I have so much love for this world. I actually have so much love for the whole universe, but sometimes I feel like it's nice to focus a little. The latest estimates I've heard are that there are at least 200 billion galaxies in the universe. Wow. Each one of them has like at least 200 billion stars. Not every star has planets. Some stars are too hot or too small. Not sure if I said this, but the center of the Milky Way galaxy, our galaxy, is thought. I believe that the center of the Milky Way galaxy is a giant black hole. I hear some rain. I'm not the only one that thinks that. It's not a crazy idea. It's a pretty, I think it's a pretty well established idea in astronomy. But not long ago, let's see, 30, 40, I want to say 40 years ago, black holes were purely fiction. And then there were scientists who tried to figure out if it was actually possible that something like a black hole could exist and how it could exist. And then some people claim to have found them. When I say some people, I mean many people. Many scientists claim to have found black holes. Another pretty well established theory. But I haven't seen one with my bare eyes. I haven't visited one, so how can I know that they exist? Right? What do I know? I don't think the world is flat either. I've been to the world. I've walked around it. I've sailed on its oceans. It seems very plausible that the Earth is a sphere or something approximating a sphere. Sometimes it's nice to think about the Earth as a flat space, though. Definitely not my 4 acres. That is definitely not flat. There is a lot of hill. That's one of the things I love about this property. And one of the reasons why I want to dig a cave on this property. A secret underground lair. Yeah. I'm thinking about different ways that I can feel sustainable. And one of the ways is to put a lot of my home furnishings underground. Like a luxurious cave. Allowing the top to be covered in sunlight and trees and earth. Allowing the fertile soil to exist without taking too much away from the natural environment that I live in. I don't want to spend all of my time underground. I mean, I'd love to be able to get some underground skylights too, so I can bring in a lot of natural light. But there's nothing like being outside in the sun. Even a cloudy day can be gloomy, can feel gloomy. One of the reasons I really love living in a tent is that I have all this natural light coming in through the canvas. There's a story there. I'm not ready to tell it. Maybe in the next episode. So what, in this episode I have talked about how perspective, the gaining of various perspectives is very valuable, feels very valuable to me. The ability to hold multiple perspectives simultaneously is very valuable to me. I also talked about digging a secret underground lair as a way of thinking about sustainability in the forest. I talked about breathing. There are many ways of breathing. Hyperventilating is one kind of breathing that I wouldn't recommend without some preparation. Oh, hello, car. Sounds of human nature. I don't really believe in human nature as like a concept that describes how humans behave. I think that humans are humans, and humans are so amazing that each one of us could do anything that we put our minds to. That's another thing I talked about, my love for the world and the universe. Wow, I covered a lot of ground in this little episode. Well, I'm gonna take a break now and attend to some other work. This isn't work. This is a gift I give myself. These podcasts are a gift I give myself. So, if there are any other listeners out there, thank you. I appreciate you, and I would like to get to know you. I'd like to see the world from your perspective. This is Dan in Nature. See you next time. Peace.